Some days we're not so good and some days we're better. That's life, isn't it? But after a while, if you practice for a long time without a break and with all your heart, then you will start feeling happier more of the time. And what do we practice? What do we practice? Sri Patanjali tells us very clearly, by practicing the 8 limbs of yoga, impurities dwindle away, and there dawns the light of wisdom, leading to discriminative discernment. What does that mean? Just by practicing what we call the 8 limbs of yoga. And I'll go through them very quickly now for you. Just by practicing that, you don't have to do much more. The impurities in your mind will dwindle away. They will slowly dwindle by itself. Leave you. Let it take its time. And when those impurities dwindle away, when those negative thoughts go, when those torturous thoughts leave you, what is left behind? When the mind is so clear, what happens? It becomes like a mirror. And what is it going to reflect? What is it going to reflect? Your inside. Because now you're not focusing on all the negative, because really that's where we keep most of us have our minds outside. This is going wrong, da 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 da, all this noisy stuff. But when the impurities dwindle away, there is that silence in your mind. And then what happens? Suddenly, you see a rose, and you see it for what it is. You see the beauty, you smell it, you live it, you enjoy it. You see a human being, a friend or an enemy, doesn't matter. What you start to see is that they all have human personalities. Everybody is in their own space and place in life. But you know with all your heart and soul that there is a light within them. The same light that you have in you. And that's what Sri Patanjali tells us. There dawns the light of wisdom. When you read all the old scriptures, what do they tell us? And God made man in its own image. Upanishads, what does it call God? The Lord of Love. I just love that. The Gita, light. All the different religions, light. So light is the same. Light is light is light is light, right? Correct? It's light. And we have that light inside of us. But we just got so involved in the material. And that can be a little dark, can't it? When you are full of desires, I want this, I want that, I want this. It can be a little dark because you're always thinking on little small things that take you away from the light, that make you struggle. When you struggle, you're in the dark. All the greatest masters speak about lead us from unreal to real. Lead us from darkness to the light. Any tradition. The Lord is my shepherd. It's my light, right? The Lord is our shepherd. It's our light. Light. What does a shepherd do? Guide you. Guide you where? Guide you to the light. Where is the light? Inside. And Sri Patanjali says, if you want to see that inner light, if you want to connect with that higher source, then practice the 8 limbs of yoga. By itself, the negative things will go away. Don't worry, take your time. Dwindle, dwindle, do you hear the word? And what happens? Light will appear in your heart, in your mind, and you will be given the knowledge that you need. How do we know that? Look at Lord Jesus. Who were his disciples? Mostly fishermen. Were they very educated? Ramana Maharishi, one of the greatest Indian saints of all time. He was totally illiterate. And yet People came from all over Europe, all over America, traveled all the way because they heard of Ramana Maharishi, his light. And we're talking about a whole century before. People went all the way there to look for him. The light was so bright in them, they couldn't find it where they were, that they got to hear about Ramana Maharishi and went all the way to India. Don't you think that's quite fascinating? In those days, to make a journey would not take one air flight, 7 hours from London. It would take weeks. So light doesn't mean that you're super intelligent or you're ignorant or you're dumb. Light means there is light. When there's light, there's no more dark. Simple. Keep spirituality simple. And when you feel light, how do you feel?
Light.
Yeah.
Angel.
And so the 8 limbs of yoga, I don't know why I'm speaking about the 8 limbs of yoga, maybe we were discussing it yesterday in Spain, are really, first of all, what we call yama niyama. What is yama? Things that we should keep away from, how we react with the world, that's yama. How we react with the world. First, we should act with the world non-violently. Shouldn't be violent. But not only with the world, you are included in that world. You are part of that world, so you shouldn't be violent to yourself as well. What's the biggest problem in this generation? I'm not good enough. This is this, and doubt and complaining because one doesn't feel good enough. Why don't you feel good enough? You're divine, didn't you hear? And God made man in its own image, so everybody is divine. So why aren't you good enough? Where did that come from? From what? Society. Aren't you clever? Absolutely. Indoctrination, power, control. You're not good enough because if you think you're good enough, you want to change the world to make it the best for everyone. You want to bring light to everyone. You want to bring joy to everyone. Because what does it serve the world to have miserable people? Zero. What does it serve? So many wars, so many lifetimes, so many deaths, so many people dying. What does it serve? What has it served our world in greed? Look, that's the 5th yama there. What has happened to a world with greed? Look at all the big corporations collapsing, taking huge bonuses at the expense of the man in the street. So, as a result, they think they're smart, taking all these bonuses. Now what's going to happen? There's a collapse. Everybody is suffering. Greed, this is what it does to the world, and this is one of the yamas as well. Next one is non-stealing. Non-stealing. Don't take what's not yours. Why do you want something that's not yours? Whatever you take away from somebody else, remember, cause and effect. As you sow, you reap. So you take something from someone, guess what's going to come right back at you? From somewhere else, somebody will take something from you. So even for that, don't take anything from anyone. Don't steal people's time, don't steal people's energy. If you're depressed all day long, that's all you're doing, stealing time, stealing energy. Why? Because if we're light, we should be sharing love, joy, giving people energy. We're light. Bless you. Do you need some tissue or water?
My friend is going to give me some tissue.
Do you know when we were in India many years ago, 34 years ago, and there was a...
34 years
No,
ago.
34 of us.
34 of us, yes.
There was 2,000 warm away.
We should go on with you.
Sorry, 9 years ago, 34 of us went to India. What a trip, what a pilgrimage we made. And we met this really incredible yogi there. His name was Ramana. Man, young Hindu priest, brought up in the temple. But he had quite a lot of powers. He did. He had a dynamic energy because he'd always been brought up in the temple. But he was more than a temple priest. He was a yogi. So anyway, when we were sitting with him and one of us sneezed, he said, God is, that's why they say God bless you, because God is here. That's confirmation. And that's what he told us every time somebody sneezed. God is here, I think, in my mind, you know? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
So you were there too? You were there too?
Yeah.
Hey, yes, we did have a great time. Yeah, we had a great time that trip. Anyway, so going back to non-stealing. And then the next one is brahmacharya. Brahma means God. Charya means disciple of God. Many times it's interpreted as celibacy or continence. Really what it means, a student of God, actually what does it mean? Always focused on the highest within you. Where is God? What is God? Some people call it Jesus, some people call it Moses, some people call it Swami Satchidananda. It's not the word. Keep reminding yourself it's an energy that we call love. Everybody has to find that love their own way. That's why we're all different. So when we focus on that energy, when we focus on that all the time, our actions will always be moderate. Why? Because we'll be in balance. Because the divine energy is always in balance. That's all it means. Not too much, not too little. You know, if you read the scriptures, it says yoga is not meant for one who sleeps too much, sleeps too little. Eats too much, eats too little. Because many people think yoga, let's fast. Buddha tried it. Did it work? And Buddha came back with the same conclusion. Moderation. So this for everything you do in moderation. Our master used to say, if you feast every day, you know, and you go on holiday. How many people go on holiday? And you go on holiday and you eat and eat and eat. By the time you come back, so happy with home simple food, isn't it? Just so happy. I love my home food. Until you go for the next holiday again. So moderation is really important in life. And then finally, non-greed, and I talked about that already. And then the niyamas is to practice what you should practice every day. Keep your thoughts pure. Keep your thoughts good. Purity, socha, keep your mind with clean. When you hear yourself thinking negative, change it. Practice what we call pratipaksha bhavana. Keeping it clear. Keeping it clear. Listen to yourself. Listen to your mind. Tell yourself. Be your best teacher. Be your best guide. You have that light within you. Never forget that. Who knows you better than you? Nobody else. You can see a million psychologists, but they can help you, but they cannot cure you. But you, if you have the goods, if you have the tools, you can heal yourself. So listen to yourself. Oh, today I'm going a bit crazy. Let me try and do this in moderation. I know what makes me happier. Music. So let me go play some music. No. Today I need to call a positive friend. So you call a positive friend. Follow your guide. It teaches you. Another person will say, no, you better do this and you better take these tablets. Don't follow that voice. Follow your inner voice. You will always be clear. Please. So many people give advice, but sometimes they give terrible advice. So I always say, know yourself, learn yourself, know who you are. Because ultimately, we all love and we all love to care. And ultimately, we're all such good people. Don't get distracted by other voices. Follow the light. We're all light. So we can learn to follow this light no matter what the world says. We can really live in light. Look at all the great masters. Weren't all of them criticized? Our poor Lord Jesus, all he did is give love, and what did they do? Crucify him. We're very lucky in this day and age. We can talk about light and we don't get crucified. But our master, the great one, and many great ones, gave their physical life to teach us. Not to fear that there's much more beyond this world. Don't worry about this world, just follow the truth. Follow the truth. And they have opened the door for all these people have taken our world from the dark ages into the age of light, which is what we're approaching now. The age of light. There's so much more understanding. Haven't you seen on the internet so many lovely messages now? 10 years ago, we would never see any spiritual messages on the internet, would you? Even 5 years back. And now people are sending nice emails about being kind, about being good, about being loving. So we've really, really made an advancement. Things are changing in another way. The world is becoming more greedy, but people are becoming better. Women never had as many rights as we have now. Go back just to 80 years ago. We couldn't even vote. Now women are in charge again. Yes. I'm teasing. I'm just having fun. And males, they're opening up. They're opening up. They're opening their heart up to be what they were born to be. They've closed their heart for so many years. Oh, men shouldn't cry. Men shouldn't feel. What? They're not human? That they have no feelings all their lives. That's why in the last generation, most of the heart attacks were, men have heart attacks at very young ages. But now men are expressing themselves. They're feeling. It's wonderful. We're really coming to a place of balance. But you have to have no fear to override all these differences. We really have to, because society will tell you no. Oh, don't do that, or don't do that. You have to really follow your spirit. So that is purity. And then we have the practice of contentment. Practice contentment. Every day practice contentment. What do you have? Are you content?
Yes.
Good girl, that was positive. And if you hadn't answered it so quickly, it means you have a lot of work. Isn't it good to know that at least if you know you're not content, you have a lot of work to do. So then what do? What kind of work do you do to become content? Look around you. I always tell people when they're not content, why don't you take a trip to India with me one day? Or go to one of the poor countries. Why don't you take a trip with me? Go to Morocco, it's just around the corner. See poverty, see what they've got. And they're laughing on the streets, and the children are having fun. We have everything. Just really, the Buddhists say, the most incredible prayer in the world is the prayer of gratitude. You're grateful, the universe hears you. It's a connection to God. It's saying thank you. If a child says thank you to a parent, how good the parent feels, right? Oh, my child is so good. I just do a little, and she says thank you. The parent wants to do more and more and more for their child. If a parent gives a child something and, oh, I want more and more, that parent doesn't want to give that child more. Isn't it true? So don't you think the divine energy is the same with us? When we are full of gratitude, they want to give us more and more. And go, no, I'm really happy. I don't need more. That's the crazy thing. And this is what it says in the Bible. Seek me first, seek God first, and all its righteousness, and everything else will be added on to you. It's not that you want anything, but just be added on to you. Because you're so happy, you're so grateful. As you think it becomes, right? A gratitude. You just love everything. You're just so happy with everything. And this day, really, if you have a job, if you have a plate of food, just don't complain. So many people are without jobs. I see in Spain, every day I get phone calls. Every day. People super intelligent. Really so good. And no jobs. There's no jobs. It breaks my heart to see this. And then I see people with a job and they're complaining, I don't like this and I don't like this. Just be grateful. Just be grateful. It's a job. You have work to do. You have money you can bring home. You don't have to beg. You don't have to cry every night wondering when you're going to pay the next bill, your phone bill and this bill. Good people I see are suffering like that. Hard-working people in the past. Now no more pay. Of course we have to help them. Help them to, lift themselves. I was telling Lakshmi today, in Portugal, one of our SIS projects, we bought them a big fridge, actually industrial fridge. That's what all of you donate the money for. Went for industrial fridge for this. These two women have seen that so many middle-class people have lost their jobs in Portugal as well, right? And they are so embarrassed to ask for money or to ask for food. So these two wealthy women set up this kitchen called Cocina de Alma, kitchen of the soul, right? Now what they do is a takeaway, is the kitchen. They charge people who can afford it. And then they interview these people, or they know these people who've lost their jobs, etc. And they give them something like a credit card with their names on it. And with that credit card, they come to this Cocina de Alma and they get a free meal every day. And nobody knows. To respect them, because these are people who are not out of jobs because they're lazy, it's because there's just no work anymore. So many companies have gone down. So don't you think that's a lovely thing to do?
Yeah.
And it's so we donated the fridge to help them out because they just decided they're giving their time, their energy, and all that to keep it going. And I just thought, if more businesses could be opened like this, can you imagine how many people we can help? Because they're not interested in profit, just covering the expenses. All profits go to those who don't have. I love it, because we have more than we need, don't we? This Christmas, we've all promised here at the yoga center, nobody's going to buy each other presents. I think it's wonderful. And then we give that to somebody who's in need. Go give it to somebody who's in need. There's so many. I meet so many on the road. Why give to somebody who already has so much? They'll just put it in a cupboard or give it to somebody else, right? Might as well give it to somebody who's in need. So much more fun. And then when you give it to somebody who really needs it, that action is so good. You feel so happy inside. Because they really need it. And because they really need it, they really appreciate it. So that energy is very powerful. That's it's a very powerful energy. That giving is it gives out lots of lights to the universe. The universe lights it. They love it. They love to see this kind of giving, this pure giving. You see people who do pure giving. They glow. There's a glow around them. It's really because the universe approves of it. And you can feel it. You know it when you see it. You recognize it when you see it. And this is the wonderful thing about being content. And then the next one is tapas, which means accepting pain and not causing it in return. And tapas, the word tapas actually means burning. Because, of course, when you have pain, it burns, right? And of course, when you have pain, you want to hit back, you want to hit back, you want to hit back. And this happens in a lot of relationships, right? And then it becomes a war. And here it's saying, don't hit back. Take pain as a purification process, that you're purifying your mind. You're not hitting back. Our master's master used to say, bear insult, bear injury, highest sadhana, which means highest practice. There can't be a higher practice. Because if anybody hits us or screams at us, the first thing we want to do is fight back, right? And then it's action, reaction, war. That's how the wars start. Accept pain. This is the way of the world. And when you accept the pain, you burn. Don't you burn? I really want to fight back, but I can't. You burn. But after you burn a few times, you actually love being free. You become free. Because when somebody says something horrible to you or hurts you, you go, you know what? Your problem. You're free. You're not bothered. You can sleep at night. Let them not sleep. They've insulted you. They cannot sleep. Normally people insult us and we don't sleep. But crazy, isn't it? So that's bear insult, bear injury. So the next one is, no problem. Thank you. And then we go to Swadhyaya, study of spiritual books. Why spiritual books? Remind you, who am I? We get so stuck, I'm this person, I have this job, I have this, I have that. Really? What happens to you at your point of death? Who are you then? Who are you then? When you lose your body, who are you then? It's a question you have to ask yourself. Most of us spend 90% of our lives avoiding that question. Avoiding it. Don't want to know. But you're going to get old. The wrinkles are going to come. And when you see the wrinkles on your face, you are going to think, next step is old age. And after that, what? After that, what? So, study spiritual books so it reminds you all the time. I'm really not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm the spirit. So every day you're reminded when you read something spiritual. And finally, Ishvara Pranidhanam, which is surrender to the divine cause. divine. There's a divine plan. Sometimes we want to control the world. We want to control everything. And we fight and we argue and we want it this way. And you can want it this way as much as you want. And it's not going to happen. Correct. What should you do? Beat yourself for the rest of your life. I want it this way. And spend the entire life in agony. Accept. And you know when you just say accept, the heart just relaxes. You know what? Okay, I have to go through this pain. It's a perfect plan. There is a perfect plan that I don't understand, but I know that loves me. It's going to do the best for me. I know that. How do I know that? Because I want to do the best for my children or my family. So that one is going to do the best for me. Accept it and the problem goes much quicker. Fight it, you waste an entire lifetime fighting. For what? For what? Yeah, nothing. You can't take your money with you, can you, Michael? No.
You can't take anything. I haven't been there yet, but...
Yeah, exactly. It's a fact, right? It's such a fact that we avoided all our lives. It's so crazy. And people say, oh yes, do good, be good. And I see people talk such spiritual language sometimes, and they go to their house, you go to their house, they can't even offer you a cup of tea. Ridiculous. Don't even offer, oh, it costs me too much to give people biscuits. Really? And you call yourself spiritual? You know, where is the spirituality? You have so much in the cupboard and you can't give it one thing away. Somebody comes to your home and they need some clothes or a handbag. No, it's mine. You have 20 in the cupboard. Somebody loves it, just give it, no? You see, we can't. We're so attached to that one handbag. How are we going to be free when we leave the body? How attached are we going to be to this body? We can't even give one handbag or one handkerchief or one biscuit. Call yourself spiritual? What a joke. Sometimes I feel like laughing. What makes you so spiritual? What have you done for the world? Who doesn't look after their family? Everybody looks after their family. Isn't it true? What are you doing for your community? What are you doing for your world? What are you doing for the person next door? Oh, I am so miserable. No wonder all day long you're thinking about yourself. Me. Of course you're miserable. Of course you're miserable. It's common sense. All this me. How can you be happy? It's quite boring in there, don't you think? If you're all day thinking about yourself, it can be so boring. But if you start to play with the world and enjoy other people and communicate with others, you see a kaleidoscope of colors and personalities and different ways of being and different ways of thinking from each human being. You can learn so much when you just open your world up. But each one is an expression of the divine light. Each one is an expression. And when they bring that expression to the highest order, to the highest thinking, they are beautiful. And this is what we're all working towards in this world, to bring ourselves to that highest we can be, the best we can be. Like Swami Chinmayananda said, we were born to be Superman and Superwomen. We were born to be like the angels. Instead, we have sacrificed that for mere material things. We've sacrificed who we can be for mere material things. But we were born to be so high. We've forgotten. Why? Society. Advertising. We've fallen into the trap again and again. And so now it's time we're coming to a generation where we're speaking out. This is not right anymore. People have stopped caring about each other. It's all about I, me, mine. There's so much disruption, there's so much sadness everywhere. Where is the joy gone from life? We were born to be joyful, loving each other, sharing with each other. Of course there is pain. That's the earth we live in. That's the examination to surpass pain and joy too. Because when you are very peaceful all the time, you want more and more and more. It's never going to happen. Life is joy, a pain, pleasure, a pain, pleasure, a pain, pleasure. So when you're very happy, when you're very sad, crying, and your whole life can go like this, and you get a heart attack very young, you get panic attacks. That's why people get panic attacks, because there's too much of this going on. It takes too much adrenaline, and these days it's like so much at such a speed that we make ourselves so sick, our body becomes cancerous. Because one day happy, one day sad, one day... So the yoga studies learn. One day you'll be happy, enjoy it, don't get so high about it. One day you'll be sad, don't get so low about it. Balance, balance, balance. Just, the favorite thing to say is, it is as it is. Why worry so much? Just let's live a good time. So today's subject is questions on relationships. So I got some questions. Yeah, this is really juicy. I love to get questions. How do you move on after a breakup, 5 years, when you lose your sense of self? Yeah, this is what happens when you live with somebody for a long time. You forget who you are because you never spend time on you. The mind is always on what is the other person doing for you, what you're doing for the other person, and you've lost your independence, you've lost your way of being. So how do you do it? How do you find yourself? You're doing it by being here and asking this question. Just by asking this question. So what do? You start very simply. You first start on your psychological or physical makeup. Start with the body and then you go deeper. Ask yourself, what do I like to do in my life? What have I always dreamed of doing as a child? Many of us have things when we're children, we think when we grow up we're going to do this and it never happens. Remember those dreams. Think, why did you have those dreams? And think, have I achieved them? And try to find out what qualities you have, what characteristics you have. Are you good at doing things with your hands? Are you good with computers? What are you good at? And start to take an interest. If you don't know and you can't find out, go and take any course. Keep the physical mind busy, learning something new. It really helps you. Study spiritual books. Learn. Who am I really? Who am I really? On the earth plane, my personality, what I can do with my personality on this earth. Who am I really inside? Learn a little bit about your soul. How do you do that? Spend a little time every day in silence, asking yourself, who am I? Am I this body? Why am I here on this earth? What is my mission? What am I meant to do? I'm so lost. I'm so much in pain. You ask yourself over and over, you'll get an answer. And then eventually, you will get a sense of yourself. Start getting involved in the world. Start getting to know. Like I said, study different people. Study whatever you can. Start to learn. Knowledge is your way out. By knowledge, it can take you out of ignorance and sadness. Why are you stuck now? 5 years ago, you should be on your way to a new exciting life, a new beginning. That's how you start. It's not the end, it's a new beginning. Yeah, you change your way of thinking. Okay, now let's say today is my first day of living. I've had 5 years of suffering after a breakup. It's been horrible. Today is my first new day. How exciting. What can I do? How can I make it delicious? How can I make it lovely? How can I make it joyous? Ask yourself these questions. Know who you are. The world will tell you, oh, poor you, and this, and so much gossip. And whatever it is, Gibraltar is a small place, and it's very difficult for people here sometimes, because there's so much gossip, and there's so much talking, yeah? And you can't get away from it. So take some time out for a bit. Spend some time on a retreat or on your own, somebody who is a quiet place. Learn who you are first. Because one of the reasons why you lose your sense of self is because you will be listening to everybody else telling you what you should have done, what you shouldn't have done, how you went wrong, how the other person went wrong. So your mind will be constantly full of judgment. And if you're constantly full of judgment, you can't move on. You just got to let it go. It's over. New beginnings. and not listen so much and find out who you are and what you are and live you. Nobody can live you for you, can they? Can anybody possess your body and live you for you? No, live you. Live who you were born to be. Start becoming independent, more and more independent. The more independent you become, the happier you are. Don't be needy, and that's how you can get over it. And it's scary. It's scary. It's not going to be easy. I make it sound so easy. It's not. I can tell you that. When I lost my husband, I had to find myself. It was not easy. Thank God I had so many years of yoga practice. I was so grateful. It's not easy. I had to take a car which I hated driving, feared it completely, and now I love it. You know, things change. I still prefer people to drive me though. I'll be very truthful about it, but I really don't mind driving myself. And God is very kind, always sends me lifts. Really, I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. Because I face the challenge, so I get the gifts, you know. And Chandra will tell you that. And doing accounts, till today, I really get stressed when I look at all the bills I have to pay and accounts, etc. You know, my husband used to do all that. It's scary. The first internet banking I did. Now, I had no idea about internet banking. My son goes, da-da-da-da-da-da, do this for this account, do this account. I lost 4,000 pounds. I don't know where I sent it. I call my son in Hong Kong, tell him I don't know what I've done. Don't worry, I'll call the bank and let them know that you've done this. It was worth it. But now it's, you know, you just learn with time. It's not easy to become yourself and independent. Do it. And the more you do it, the more you like yourself. And then when I built a house on my own and did everything, I thought, wow, you feel really proud of yourself. And you went, where did this come from? Where did the energy come from? I don't know anything about this and this. I've made many mistakes, but I'm trying to correct them now. But you learn. You don't worry about the mistakes. You just learn. You build yourself up. You make yourself strong. And you realize that God is with you. You're never alone. That's what I kept telling myself all the time. That's a good one. God is with me. I'm not alone. And you get lots of strength. Oh, the light is with me. I'm not alone. The power is with me. I'm not alone. I just have to keep positive. That's all. Find yourself. Life is short. Don't waste any more time on breakups. 5 years ago, tear up the paper, new beginning. Exciting. I wish you a wonderful way ahead. Let go of the old. As the saying goes, don't bother to cry over spilt milk. It's spilt. Done and over. Next question. In the case of a child, in the case of child abuse, for example, the missing 5-year-old, would she be seen as a victim? How could you say she isn't? Very good. In the case of child abuse, for example, the missing 5-year-old, would she be seen as a victim? In our earth, yes, absolutely, she'll be seen as a victim. On this earth, yes, when we look at them, we feel she's a victim. And how could you say she isn't? I couldn't say she isn't. She is a victim. But I can also say, on a higher plane, we really don't know what's going on. There's so much we don't know. There's so much we haven't even understood. What I have learned, these things are so traumatic. When there's child abuse, I have met people, many, since I've started counseling 20 years ago, that I really got a shock that how many children were abused. I really had a shock. Here, in this country, and every other country, by relatives. Let me go to that and then I'll fully answer this one. By relatives, by parents. I mean, for me it was shocking. But I learned a lot through these people. And what I realized is, for the people who came to see me, and been to many psychologists, because it's a lifetime of forgiving, anger, a lifetime of anger actually. And I have found that the only way these people come out of that anger is to actually forgive. Forgive the person who's abused them. There's no other way they can find peace. So what I have seen is many of these, what we call victims, when they have forgiven, this is from my own personal experience, they have gone on to help so many other people. All of the cases I've had, every single one, going through that pain, has made it an internal promise that nobody else should go through that kind of pain. And they have made an internal promise to teach others that forgiveness is vital. Because until you forgive, you cannot be free. And they have gone on to become greater in themselves. So in the far scheme of things, or in the bigger picture, we never know why these things happen. In our Hindu scriptures, we talk about karma. And still, you think karma, how can it be this bad? But in many cases, it's turned out even better. I don't know, many, many years ago, there was a lady who was abused. I don't know if you remember her. And she came to Gibraltar, and she gave a talk in...
And she gave a book to the book.
Yes, yeah.
I got the book, yes.
And she was abused, and they were going to burn her. And then when she went to the courts, she was a woman, so she had no rights. What did she do? She turned it around. She made sure that women had legal rights. She made every woman that was raped or abused, she brought their cases to the forefront, and she changed the whole legal system. And she had a torturous experience. I remember listening to her and really being so amazed that somebody who'd gone through rape, etc., and then put into a room and then being lit up by a fire and left there, lucky she was saved, and then could come out and help the entire world, because the experience was so painful, but she turned it around to help others. And because of her, there was a great change in the legal system. So one person goes through a lot of pain, and I see in the higher picture again, that soul had chosen to go through that experience to help others in the world. And that's how I see it. When a child dies, there's a story by, Shanti, do you mind not having, are you taping it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I don't want to forget this stuff.
Okay,
It's not
yeah,
so good.
forget it. It's like a little distracting,
Yeah,
yeah?
trying
Thank
to do
you.
it in YouTube. We tried.
Okay, well, you got a few minutes in there.
Yeah, I got
yeah,
some.
okay. It's not very comfortable. Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
We tried.
So, what was I
You're
saying?
talking about the lady who had the burning and all that.
Yeah, so after her, no, I was saying something else. Yeah, I was telling you something else, but never mind, it couldn't have been very, very important. Yeah, so in the case of this... You didn't hear what she said, right? So we can go back to that if you want.
To change the situation.
Yeah, the changing, pardon? Yes. In the case, see you, Silka. God bless. Take care of that cold. We don't know why she was a victim. We don't know why she was abused. Yes, in the case of all of us, we look at it. But what we know is that more parents are more aware of their children now. There was a stage where parents nowadays, they go out for lunch, they walk in the gardens. They let the children do whatever they want. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. They allow the kids to go anywhere. I think it's brought awareness in. Again, your responsibilities. Nowadays, they just say, oh, let me have my lunch. I've seen that a lot. Many times I've gone into restaurants and I see the parents are like all in the dinner table, having their lunch, and the kids are outside playing. Now, I'm more worried about the children than they are. And they're only 3 and 4. And I'm thinking, why aren't they looking where the children are? Too busy having a good time. So I think, what happened to that girl that was lost first in Portugal? What was her name again? Madeline. How can you leave a baby asleep in a bed and go out? Even if it's for 2 hours. Would you ever do that? No. And what has it stopped other people from doing? that. And I know many parents who did that. I remember once I had a friend who stayed with me. Oh, we're going to this hotel and we're not going to pay for babysitters. Child is 5 and the other one is 3. You're going to leave the 2 boys alone in the hotel room, lock the door, and go out for dinner and come back after 3 hours. I told her, are you mad? She got so angry with me. She said, no, you don't have to, you don't speak to me like that. They're my children. I said, they're God's children. I actually got so angry. I said, they're God's children. You don't know what can happen at that time. You really don't know. Anything can happen. How can you leave a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old and think about having dinner? I mean, what has brains that people become so unconscious?
Open.
Yeah. So I think sometimes these things happen, like, for example, so many people are being shot now in schools, right? How many times have we heard that? Takes a gun, goes, shoots 20 people in the college and the school. How many people die? When are they going to change the gun laws? Why are guns sold openly? When a lot of people suffer, they will make a voice and fight against guns and say, we want a gun law. Guns shouldn't be sold to any Tom, Dick, and Harry. And this is where we are. We've been following like sheep the last years, weapons, everybody's making lots of money, and we just allow it and allow it and allow it. It's time we're fighting back. No, and unfortunately souls have to die so that we fight back. Otherwise we don't do it. And it doesn't matter, everybody has a gun under their bed. Of course it matters. Because you've got a person who's disturbed or depressed suddenly, for no reason get depression. Let's kill everybody and kill myself with it. We need to take responsibility. I think all these things are teaching us to go back to the old ways of taking responsibility for our life, for our neighbors, for our friends, for our school, for our children, to care enough to take responsibility. So I think when we hear of a case like that, it breaks our heart. Abuse really breaks my heart, and I've seen so many people who have been abused, and I tell you, for me, it's really, I can feel their pain. And when they get over it and what they do for the world, for me, is so admirable. So yeah, on one hand, that person is definitely a victim, and on the other hand, we don't know the bigger picture. And that's how I would answer that. None of us know. We never know what happens in the end. And that's the question. Next question. How would you know if you have found your soulmate? You just would. How would you know? You would be so delighted to be with that person. You will feel so comfortable with that person. You will feel like you're just a hand in a perfect fitting glove. It just fits. Everything fits. You're comfortable, you can say anything to that person. You understand each other from a distance, from near, from far. There is an energy that flows through you. You will understand, you will know. You don't even have to ask that question. If you're asking that question, you haven't found your soulmate. But let me explain soulmate properly also. Sometimes people think soulmate has to be between a couple. All right? And they think, if we don't fit perfectly, like, a glove on a hand or whatever, that person is not my soulmate. No. That's not exactly true. Soulmates can be a very close friend, can be a sibling, can be even your parent, your mother, it can even be your father. A soulmate is somebody who really vibrates with you on the same soul energy. But nowadays people talk about soulmates and they think it has to be in a partnership. Sometimes your partnership cannot be your soulmate because you've already learned what you have with your soulmate. Where you need to learn is with your partner. That gives you a little bit of problem. That's where your learning is needed. A soulmate, you don't need to learn. So you don't need to learn anything, you won't grow. Spiritually, you won't grow. So soulmate is not necessarily in a relationship. Many relationships, we get together in relationships because we have to see the worst in ourselves, change it and make the best of ourselves. And we see the worst in them, change it and bring the best out in them. Each one has to work on themselves, right? And normally we are mirrors. In relationships, we are mirrors. What you don't like in the other person, no, you have it in you. Oh, he's always judging. No, by you saying he's always judging, you are also judging. Oh, they're so selfish. Look at yourself. Are you selfish? I think partners bring that out in you. They do. They bring the best. If we can see that they bring the best out in us, then we won't be angry with them. Then when they bring, when we resist, when they tell us something we don't like, it's the ego that doesn't like it, we won't fight. We'll say, why have they said this to me? What are they trying to teach me? Many times I've used my own example, many, many times, and I'll repeat it again and again and again so you understand it. I always used to say to my husband, you don't understand. And he said, Nalanie, you're just too emotional. I go, I'm not emotional. When you fight back right away, you're just cold. This is the way we do it. Crazy, a lot of nonsense going back and forth. Right, of course, when I started to meditate and sat down, one day I was sitting quiet and suddenly I saw my husband, saw myself. Scream, 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 shout, 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 shout. Oh my God. Wow, he's right. I'm really over emotional. And I've been resisting it. But also, when I went to him and apologized to him, I realized that deep inside, he was also very emotional, but in a different way. He used to take things very personally in many ways, but his emotion was inside. My emotion was outside. He'd keep it in, all that emotion. He could see it in me. Do you see, there's many things that you learn, and relationships teach you this. If I didn't have him as a mirror, I would have never known that. So next time somebody tells you something, don't take it personally. So what have I got to learn from this? What have I got to learn from this? And that's what yoga gave me, what the Sri Patanjali gave me. And I'm so grateful for the science, the yoga science, because it makes you see things from a higher point of view. Not from a very base, I, me, my ego, this is what I want, how dare you say that to me. But from a higher point of view, where you see things from a different, really different perspective. And then peace comes, because there's no ego. And then I went to my husband, of course, and said, darling, I'm really sorry. I am very emotional. Help me. When the moment you tell people, help me, what do they want to do? Help you. Isn't it true? Many of us are too proud to ask our partners for help. Too proud to say, I'm suffering, I'm going through a bad time. Too proud. Everybody has to know it all these days. Too proud to say, I don't know enough. I really would like to get better. Too proud to say, I'm sorry. That's all pride. And pride should have no space in relationships. It destroys it, it cuts them down, and it makes beautiful angels into horrible human beings. So that's why pride doesn't work. If you want to grow, watch your arrogance, watch your pride. We're all always learning. We're all always learning. We don't know anything. Who could ever? Has anybody come and really described the Lord of Lights? We couldn't in this body, not possible. Impossible, because the mind is too limited, the body is too limited. Not possible. All we do know is an experience, and this is the absolute truth. The experience of unconditional love that takes us beyond ourselves. That's all we know. And all we know is when we act and do an act of kindness that far exceeds what we normally do, and we walk that extra mile for somebody else. All we know is when we do that, there is a feeling in us that gives us so much peace, and that connects you to this divine energy. That's all I know. Don't know much more than that. And I've seen that everybody who does that feels the same. So there must be something in giving and loving, right? There must be something in it. That's the clue. That's where God is. Because why? We're all brothers and sisters. That's the truth. But if we say, man, woman, you should be like this and I should be like that, we're all putting ourselves into boxes. And then we don't help each other to grow. We break each other down. And this is what's happening today. Everybody's breaking each other instead of building each other up. We need to praise people. Tell them what's good in them. But at the same time, don't be hypocritical. If something is wrong, you need to tell them in a gentle way. Look, this really it doesn't bring the best out of you. This brings the worst out of you. You need to tell them matter of factly, don't they? You know, you have this quality, which is what people do these days. That's horrible. You don't have to say it like that. You can say it nicely. You know, when you do this, it really just, maybe it's me, but it gets me the wrong way. Make people think. Always make people think with gentleness. Make them think, throw the ball back in their court. There's a problem? They tell you there's a problem? Why? Okay, let's say I accept this. Now tell me your point of view. Throw it back in the court. Always share, communication. This enriches relationships. If something is bothering you inside and you do not talk about it, it will build there and create a monster of your relationship. Why do you want to live like that in a lie? You know, if you're going to be in a relationship, better the pain and the sorrow, but at least you live the truth. How many people live in lies in their own home? I can't believe there's so many relationships, they don't even talk to each other. It's so sad. They talk about rubbish half the time. You put this glass here. You know how many people come to my office see me? They argue over this person likes this glass over there. I mean, is that the extent of your mind and your life? No wonder you're miserable. I don't like it when you put this there, and I like it. Get real. Isn't it true? Haven't you seen that? Get real. Which world are you living in? And sometimes we have to shock people by telling them the truth. Get real. Is this really important? This is why, you know, nowadays we see a lot of cancer cases, a lot of young people dying. Why do you think those souls decided to leave so early, so quickly, all of a sudden, all around us? Do you remember when you were young, did you hear of so many deaths in 1 week? What? No. So many cancer cases in 1 week, or 10 days, or one summer? How many funerals did I go to in this summer alone? Yeah.
Oh my God.
How many funerals this summer alone? What do you think is happening? The universe is helping us to speed up our growth, telling us be kind to each other. Yes, we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. Be loving, be kind. You don't know tomorrow they're gone. Like this. They're telling us to be awake, aware. It happens slowly over the generations. Do we listen? No. Yeah, when somebody dies, 2 weeks, you're very sad. I'm going to be kind. You might die tomorrow, so I'll be kind to you. And after 2 weeks, back to the old ways again. So more and more people die, and you go, oh my God, I just appreciate what I have, when I have. I may not have it tomorrow, you know. Appreciate it now, this moment, for what it is. Everything. It shouldn't just be with relationships. It should be with everything you have. Because we don't know, an earthquake could hit here tomorrow. Tonight, and we could all fall apart. Do we know? We don't know. So all this is happening. We're not victims. I really believe in the highest scheme of things. We're all just students. Students. In this school, this university called Earth. That's all. And we're learning. The more we resist, we have to repeat the class again and again and again. But when we stop the resistance and just Ishwara Pranidhanam, surrender to the highest, it doesn't mean you just sit there and say, it's God's plan, I won't do anything. Surrender to the highest means you work your hardest in making yourself the highest, to surrender to the highest. So what is that highest? Light, love, we talked about it. Surrender to that. Don't surrender to anger. Anger keeps you away from the highest. Don't surrender to guilt. Guilt keeps you away from the highest. Don't surrender to fear. It keeps you away. Do you see? Surrender to love, forgiveness, compassion. Surrender to those things that are divine. These are divine qualities. Why do we love all those people that we love? Mother Teresa, Lord Jesus, Gurudev, Swami Satchidananda, all these one, because they had those divine qualities. Why do we love them? Because that's us. We recognize it. We recognize it. We recognize it. And we go, wow, we love it. This makes us feel home. So find home there. So surrender to love, surrender to forgiveness, that's the surrendering. And then it brings you home to God, to the divine, or whatever you want to call it. Brings you home. There's a forgiveness, which means an acceptance. The work is with your mind, with yourself, not to fall into depression, not to fall into anger, not to fall into revenge. That's hard work, and that is the work. That's why we constantly hit till we become so strong. We say, you know what? I'm so fed up with all this. I'm surrendering to God's law, the law of love. The rest doesn't work. And this is why we have all these things with relationships. And I have a blank question here. No question. So, any of you have any other questions to ask?
Really, I think that, in my opinion, I'm dying every minute, so I don't have time to waste.
Wonderful. Absolutely true.
I'm dying.
Yeah.
The only thing is the doctor hasn't told me when, but I am. Every minute that passes.
Absolutely. It's 1 minute less in our life.
Yeah. So why waste it?
Wonderful. Well, you've been a real example to many people. Many people. So yeah, that's a nice thing. Every minute we're getting closer to death, so why waste life? One of the things that I used to say all the time is get up every day. This was my last day. How would you like to live it? How would you like to live it? And I say, if you have dreams, personal dreams, enjoy them too. That's what we're here to do too. Live fully. It doesn't mean just because you want to serve, love, give. You don't serve, love, give. Didn't I say you're divine too? Just don't get so into yourself. That's all. Because when you're happy, you can feed many people. If your house is full of food, you can share with many. If your heart is full of love, you can give love. But if your heart is lonely and tired, you can give nothing. So fill your heart with love. And life is not easy, and relationships are not easy. We have problems with parents, we have problems with siblings, we have problems with friends. It's always problems in that area. It's just the way it is. Don't take things personally. Think to yourself, this is for my growth. This is for my growth. This person is very hard. Every time I come into this person's energy field, I get depleted. I feel exhausted. Don't go into the energy field. Don't go into that. Why are you going there? How many people, I often say that, so many people today, still, they go to all these parties and they go and they come back and they come to me and they're depressed. Why are you depressed? You went to the parties, you've enjoyed it. I don't know, I come back feeling sick. Well, what happened in the party? Did you feel sick? Oh, I didn't have the best clothes, or this person said this, or somebody said that, or this person got drunk and created a scene. And don't go. If it's upsetting you so much, why do you keep doing it all the time? Going to the same thing, facing the same battles. Who's doing it to you? Who's punishing you? Yeah. Do you know? So simple solution. It's not making you happy. Why do you continue doing it? Stop. Just say no. Can I? Yeah. Who says you can't? Am I antisocial? Are you antisocial? Just have different things you can do. Many times when I first came here, and at that time not a lot of women worked when I came here in 75, and I started working in the business with my husband, and I thought, no, none of the other women work, so I'll go for coffee afternoons and coffee mornings. Do you know, after 1 week I just couldn't do it anymore. How many coffees can you drink? That's what I thought. What was my life? I prefer to be working. At least your mind is away from all this talk. Where is it getting all this talk? You know, are we growing in our talk? That was the question I was asking. Am I growing? No, it was like all, in those days, all it was gossip about this one, that one. I'm filling my brain up with nonsense. I was only 21. And I would just come from university where I was studying like psychology and fine arts and history, and life was so full of color. And suddenly I'm here with few women talking about things that didn't matter, didn't know difference. You know, if you've got a designer and I don't, it's really okay. Shoes are shoes are shoes. Yes, you like nice shoes, pretty. You look lovely. Finish. 5 minutes, it's done. Done, right? It's done. It's finished. I talked about it. You look lovely. It's wonderful. You can't speak 5 hours on the same shoe. Do you know, this is how I felt. And people do that. 5 hours on the same thing. Yeah, okay, come, it's done. We finished this conversation, my friend. And I'm just saying that this is, and then I realized I just had to say no. I was much happier working because at least I was helping my husband. I was doing something useful. I was helping pay for my children's education. I was doing something useful. I was doing something useful. You know, all of us, our master said something, you know, when I first went to yoga that really touched me. He said, you know, what is yoga? Why do we practice it? To live an easeful, peaceful, and useful life. Because without all those three, life is not complete. If you're peaceful and easeful and you're not useful, you feel something is lacking. You feel something is lacking. And if you're useful, when many people just work, very useful, they're not peaceful and useful, peaceful and easeful, also problems. So the three have to be in combination, and that made so much sense to me. And then you put all these old sayings, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. Many problems are created because people have nothing better to do. Very highly intelligent people I have seen, because they've been given the gift of a great mind, when they don't use that great mind, all these highly intelligent people become extremely depressed. Very interesting. This is a study I've made in the last 20 years. It's people who are highly intelligent, but they're not useful. They're just building up their intelligence, but they don't know what to do with it. And then they sit with all this information. It drives them crazy. Yes. And you read about it in literature, you know, Virginia Woolf, right? Highly intelligent, but she couldn't make sense of life. What happened? They commit suicide. Many of them can't make sense of life. Why? Because they lack the spirit, the understanding of the spirit and why we are here. So you need to be useful in life, not only to yourself, you know, and it just, every time you do something, you cook or you do a program on the computer, you write a business plan, wow, it's a nice thing to do. You're useful to someone, at least you're useful. And depression starts when you're not useful, so be useful. And if you come in a bad relationship, think I've been sent here to bring love, to show love. I do my best. That's all I can do. And if it doesn't work, you have to let it go. Don't feel guilty about it. You just do your best. Why has it been sent to you? To teach you. But if you are suffering so much that you can't breathe, you have to let it go, because if you can't breathe, you will die, then what use are you to the world again? Do you see? You just have to realize that peace, we have a very short lifespan to achieve this. It's not long. It's a very short lifespan. How much time do you want to spend of it crying? Question you have to ask yourself. How much time do you want to spend of it laughing and loving? You have to ask yourself. I always say walk the extra mile. Our master said, you know, when you give 50% and you expect 50% back, what's that? Business. It's business. It's not love. When you give everything you have and expect nothing in return, that's unconditional love. That's unconditional love. Hard to do. Hard to do. But that makes you feel the richest. It really does make you feel so rich. And you take the greatest riches with you. As Lord Jesus said, but what does it benefit a man to gain the whole world at the cost of his soul? Don't sacrifice that. Don't sacrifice that. The soul is forever beyond the body. And when we die, we go to where our mind is. Why? Simply, for example, can you put a nursery child into a university? They wouldn't know what to do with it. So here we have come to learn about our soul. So when it comes to our time to go, if we are grown up in our soul, we will go to that place. As Lord Jesus said, in my Father's home, there are many mansions. So if our mind is full of misery and anger and unforgiveness, when you lose the body, that mind will go with that soul, because it's not yet realized. This is why education of being good and kind and compassionate is of ultimate importance, more important than anything else. Anything else, because that's long term. Long term. Everything else we do here on this earth is short term. How long is this glass going to last? What day is going to break? And even if it lives, I will die. This is short term. And this is what we have to think, why we've been sent here, why are our souls in these bodies? Ask ourselves these questions. And what are we going to do with our life now that we know this? We are souls. And how can we elevate our own minds, work with our own selves, so that at our point of exit, because we don't know when that's going to come, it'll be time for us to exit, that we can walk through the door and go to the highest, the nicest mansions. And of course, if you're thinking love all day long, that's the mansion you're going to go to, because you wouldn't fit in hell, would you? Let's don't call it hell, let's call it negative energy. You wouldn't fit there. Just as a university student couldn't go back to studying kindergarten. They'd read all the books in like 5 minutes. A is for apple, B is for ball. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand? There's no judgment. God doesn't judge. The divine energy has given us itself, the seed of itself, which is sacrifice. It sacrificed itself. It split itself into so many because it wanted to know it in all the different forms, but all came from it. You know, it was quite something. We have a Sanskrit mantra that says that Punamada Punamidam Punat Punamudachate Punasya Punamadaya Punameva Vashishyate. And you know what that means, right? Can I have 2 candles, Shanti? I think I've done it before, but I'll do it again. Oh, thank you. You've been very kind to me. That's okay. Okay, we'll just pretend. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Okay. This is full. This also is full. This fullness came from that fullness. Though this fullness came from that fullness remains forever full. That's a mantra. Do you get it? This fullness came from that fullness. That's what we came from. This fullness came from that fullness. So we have to, and what we're doing in this life is to become that fullness. As Master Chinmayanandaji said, become the angels, become people of light. That's what we are, light. And the injection that was given to us to make us connect to that light is love. Even Sri Patanjali says, whatever you do for a long time, without a break and with all your heart, you will be successful in. See, love has to be in whatever you do in order to be successful. You want to be successful in a relationship? Put love. You want to be successful in your job? Put love. You want to be successful in your career? Put love. You want to be successful with your children? Put love.
Cooking.
Put love for sure.
Mom, what have you done there? It says a pinch of love.
Yes, a pinch of love. And food is always delicious with love. You know, learn to do that. If you cook, always say mantras. And if you don't know a mantra, say, may everybody who eats this food be blessed. I do this all the time. May it be blessed. May it be blessed. May it be filled of love and like Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah. May everybody who eats this food, you know, may it bless them. May it bless them. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I'm Sapa 7, yes. And just do that. Make it a practice. Such an easy practice. Everything you do, may everybody be blessed by my words, by my every action. Just ask and you shall receive. May every word that comes out from my mouth be a blessing. May every thought be a clear one. Be a clear one, because sometimes you get a negative thought, not because it's negative, but because you have to teach somebody something. Haven't you seen that? Like in children. This child is behaving badly. You tell them, behaving badly, right? It's not necessarily bad, it's a teaching thought. So learn to discriminate between your thoughts, learn all that. And I want to thank you all for coming this evening. It's really great. Thank you for your questions. I love it when I get questions. I hope I was able to answer them. If I haven't, forgive me. I can only answer what I have learned. I don't know much more than that. And what I've experienced. And I just want to tell you all that what I have experienced is when you love life, life loves you back. And when you serve life, it serves you back. Even if you don't want, it wants to give you everything you want. It is that kind, it is that generous, it is that loving. And the God that I know is the one of abundance. I don't know anything else. And if it's not in our life, it's because we shut it down with anger, with fear, with lies, with hurting others. We've shut that God down. God is always with us. We are not always with it.